I've been in the city of Hartford for over 30 years. Nobody knows me. If you're in any of the high-rises downtown Hartford, I'm a window cleaner. So I'm usually looking in from the outside. Basically, that's what Connecticut's doing. So this is a pretty spirited election. If you look on both sides, one side wants to keep the same tax and spend policies. You can't tax your way into prosperity. We already seen what that huge stimulus package did with the shovel-ready jobs. Did not create anything. So there is two visions for this country. There's one with regulation reform, which we desperately need. It's unfortunate the Congressman voted against regulation reform. Look, you can't take a business and try to open it at a 12 to 15 month window. That's just killing the entrepreneurial spirit. Can't do that. The mill rate in the city of Hartford is at 75. I worked on the last two crane projects, unfortunately, which was the Goodwin Tower. Thank God we had a great business owner in Weston, Connecticut buy that. And then Hartford 21, which is right next door. Thank God, that's 2006. That's the last two cranes in over 20 years. We need to bring incentives back to the state of Connecticut. We lost two huge small companies, one out of Torrington, which was Borgeson, and one right out here in the city of Hartford was one of the last manufacturers, or one of the few last manufacturers left in the city of Hartford, which is the Sorensen Company. They wrote back to the city of Hartford, the state of Connecticut. They said that we missed this workforce here. We missed the city of Hartford, but we couldn't do business. Where they moved to was the southern, I think it was Central Florida. They said 4 kilowatts per energy versus 16 to 18 up here. Right there, saving them over $100,000 a year. So regulation reform would help not only the state of Connecticut, the whole New England region. There's gas pipelines that need to come in. So here's regulation at its finest. You have the equivalent of Massachusetts Department of Environmental and Energy Protection arguing with the state of Connecticut's Department of Environmental and Energy Protection along with the federal government. They're blocking that it's going to take them over 5 years to get that regulation passed through. That's going to keep businesses at a high rate of energy costs. We need to lower that. And being in Hartford for 26 years, I've seen the devastation throughout the city of Hartford where companies are moving and downsizing. Just worked at a building down in Long Wharf, New Haven, it was called MetroHartford, a spin-off from U.S. Surgical. Just because of the regulation reforms in the Affordable Care Act, they've downsized from 5 floors to 2 floors. Even in the financial district from Prudential, we've seen them lose their job and get shipped overseas. We can't afford that anymore. And if you see somebody that's going to back manufacturing, you can't cut bad trade deals. Those are the things that we need to look at. Congressman just came back from South Korea. He approved that trade deal with South Korea. It cost the country over 95,000 manufacturing jobs and increased our deficit by over $15 billion. That's destroying manufacturing. And so when you go to Washington, and you have the same vision every time you go to Washington. And what do we only focus on in this state of Connecticut? Defense and insurance. Defense and insurance. We have to look past that. If you look all through New York, what are they bringing in? High-tech jobs. Google, Amazon, eBay. We have a young workforce here that's dying for work and dying for business. We need young and new, fresh ideas in Washington. The same old is not going to work. The closer you get to the first district, the higher the unemployment rate. You cannot have that anymore. Look at the GDP. Less than 2% in this country. Something is fundamentally wrong. When you embrace Governor Malloy's policies, and you want to bring that on the national level, we've already seen the devastation of what it's doing. Companies are fleeing. We lost a big business called GE. Those are 6-figure jobs. We're losing companies out of the country because these tax and spend policies are not working. We need to look at regulation reform. We need to look at the EPA and how they're destroying jobs. If you want a voice of the people, if you want to go out of Washington and be a voice of the people, let's get rid of those unelected bureaucrats that are coming into businesses and farms and regulating them without any public input. That's what's hurting our businesses. That's what's hurting our small businesses. Once again, if it takes 12 to 15 months to open up a small business, something is fundamentally wrong with the way they do business in Washington. We can do better here in the 1st District. We do a lot better. We need to encourage job growth. I think I'm the candidate to do that. Now, I'm sure a few of you donate to Mr. Larson's campaign, maybe through a PAC or personally. Wouldn't it be nice to send somebody down there that's actually going to put the wind at your back, instead of worrying about them putting barriers up and keeping you from expanding your business and job growth? The Affordable Care Act has cost a lot of jobs, a lot of tax burdens. As we see around the country, it's failing. And for me to say up here, we just need to eliminate that, no, we need to have an idea of how we're going to keep people that are special needs that need to be on that. Basically, it was a Medicaid expansion. What I would say, the exchanges are still open. Let's use the free market system in those exchanges. Let's afford companies to buy insurance across state lines. And we need tort reform. The Affordable Care Act has hurt my small business. There's no special carve-outs for myself. First time, not the first time, but it's a great, I'll agree with President Bill Clinton. It's a crazy notion that that was going to lower rates. It didn't. It hurt my small business, and it's keeping businesses from hiring. That's one huge problem. So when you come home and you peddle those lies and you say, hey, the Affordable Care Act is going to help small business, it's going to lower your rates, and it's going to put more people on the insurance rolls. Well, you can have insurance. That doesn't mean you're going to get health care. So that's where incompetence meets good intentions. And you can have good intentions, but you have to have common sense when you pass these laws. And you look at them and say, how is it going to hurt the district? Let's talk to the business community. And let's talk a little bit more about manufacturing. We have billions and billions of dollars coming back for these defense contracts. And let's talk about the inner city, since I've been down here for over 30 years. It's following that money as a congressional leader and being able to talk to the business community. There's no reason why we can't set up satellite programs for these kids and get them off the street. With the money coming into the defense industry, there's no reason why we can't put a satellite machine shop down there in the inner city and get these kids off the street. I had people working for me that got their degree in CNC machining. Most of these jobs are saying, you need 2 years experience. Well, where are they going to get 2 years experience if they can't find a job? So we need a training facility. The steel workers have a welding facility down there to get young minority women and women off the streets and get them into a trade. The Teamsters are doing that with the trucking industry, getting these kids off the street through the UPS system. We can do better. To say I can get federal grants and just throw the money out there, and we've seen the waste. We've seen the waste where these kids are going to these unaccredited schools and they're kicked in the street. Look at the ballpark. Usually when you have a minority contractor or go in there, 35% to 30% of the people from the inner city should be working on those jobs. This construction industry, less than 1%. They can get less than 1% of the city of Hartford to work on these ballparks. We can do better than that. We need to get people trained. If you send me to Washington, I will be your voice. I will cut the bureaucratic tape and nightmare that businesses are facing, including myself, where we don't have a voice, where they can step into your business and shut you down or regulate you to death. Look at the trucking industry. They finally caught up with the EPA regulations. What happened next? More regulations came out. It's going to cost us thousands and millions of dollars to move our goods and services across this country. We have to look at the two choices at the top of the ticket and who's going to represent. It's like the Congress said, there's only a majority how many years. You need to work across party lines. But it's simple to look at a voting record. When the Republicans were in a minority, we were called the party of no. If you look at the voting record of the Democratic congressional delegation out of the state of Connecticut, they have been the party of no the last 4 years. And it's unfortunate for the district, because working across party lines is finding common ground and compromising on issues that are going to help the first district. Once again, thank you, Mr. Greenwald. Thank you, MetroHartford Alliance, for having me here.